Two Temple Place is filled with so many different varieties of wood. If I look up, you've got these wonderful carved oak panels that go around the entire ceiling. Walking up the stairs, you'll find mahogany carvings and beautiful mahogany figures. And then we come to these stunning ebony columns that surround the whole space. The works that talk to me the most in this space are these beautiful low relief panels. They're carved in oak, and oak is a very hard material to carve. The carvers who are working on these panels have been able to achieve some exquisite details, and for me they are some of the most beautiful oak carvings that I've ever seen.
So this is my wood pile. I love to collect a variety of different woods. So for example, I've got lime wood here. I have a bit of cherry. I like to see wood like people. You don't know what to expect until you get to know the person, and it's the same with wood. I don't know what to expect until I carve into the wood. It's not as easy as going to a timber shop and identifying and knowing what the wood is. So I carve into it, and as I carve into it and it reveals its textures, then I start to realise, oh, this could potentially be oak, it could be cherry, it could be lime. And I love that. It unravels as I carve onto my lathe. It reveals its beauty gradually, and that helps me to design my work. It dictates my design.
The landing is made completely of oak. It's beautiful how these rays cross the linear grain. So these are called medullary rays, but quite often you'll hear it referred to as tiger oak because it literally looks like tiger stripes. There's also these beautiful low relief carvings. So the way that these flowers would have been carved, for example, is the carver would have had a particular tool, and they would have carved in at all these different angles to create these cuts, and then gone in with a small tool to create the line of the petal. The tools I'm using are very similar to the tools that the artisans at Two Temple Place would have been using, especially some of these older ones. So when I start, I use these larger gouges, and as I get closer to the end, the tools get smaller so I can create those refined details. So with a very hard material like oak, it's good to use a mallet to remove a lot of the material. These columns are made completely out of ebony. So ebony is a highly prized, very contentious wood. It's not imported anymore, it's completely banned. Ebony is such a slow growing tree, and it doesn't grow that huge. So this is almost like the entire heartwood of an ebony tree that is sitting within this space. And it talks so much of the luxury that was wanted for this space, but also the kind of sadness of these materials being used.
These are woods that are quite rare, especially now. But during those times, even sourcing those types of woods, you had to have finance. You wouldn't source a lot of these woods from England. So ebony, Africa, and mahogany can be found in India or even Africa. So that means you had to have a lot of power. So when I look at woods, it's not the same. For me, wood is an opportunity to live in the present. I feel like trees have listened on conversations and they know more than they give off.
So the library is filled with a diverse range of woods. We have a mahogany door, which flows into a beautiful mahogany floor. The panels are carved in satin wood, and satin wood has this particularly beautiful grain that shimmers and shines with the light. And these ones in particular, the markings are almost like waves. So it really talks to the River Thames that is just outside this building.
So I only use woods that have naturally fallen. I like to see it as I'm honouring the wood. I'm adding another legacy to its life. For me, working with the wood, I'm collaborating with the material. It's not me implanting my ideas onto the wood.
I work with quite a lot of different materials: clay, paint, wax. But what it is about wood is there's so much life and excitement in the material, and it's also a process of taking away. You're using tools to remove the material, and if you take off too much, there isn't really a lot that you can do. So you're diving into the mystery of the material and finding your way as you go. On a project of this scale, there would have been multiple carvers involved. You would have had the master carver, which would have been in charge of the designs, the layout, and delegating who did what. The master carver would have done the most important works, the musketeers, for example, and then the other talented carvers in the workshop would have been doing some of these very exquisite panels. The apprentices would have been sharpening tools, also doing some of the simpler carvings like the mouldings and the bits that we see around the doors. Satin wood allows you to achieve a lot of very fine details, which we see here on this wonderful swirling acanthus leaf. There are some very tiny tool marks which give us this naturalistic feeling of a leaf, and also this very flat background which is hard to achieve when you're carving detail into a panel. So the people working on this project were probably some of the best carvers in the country. So there are an array of wonderful and wild figures on this bench end. The mermaid, which I was just drawing, and she leads up right into this wonderful, is it a lion, is it a dog, this sort of animalistic figure, and all of these swirls and acanthus leaves and other kind of rocaille motifs flow right up into this wonderful grotesque face we have at the front. Grotesque, it does kind of have connotations with the wild and the disgusting, but also grotesque ornament could act as a protector of sorts, especially on the outside of buildings. They were sort of keeping the evil out, and here this face within is kind of keeping the evil at bay, perhaps.
The lathe spins, and while it spins, I use a gouge or parting tool, and I literally going back and forth, almost like a boxing stance where you're jockeying back and forth. I literally carve around. And so I've got the tool by my side, kind of like a dance almost, just gradually moving back and forth, and I'm carving into the wood. So it's quite therapeutic, takes a lot of time, it requires a lot of hand-eye coordination as well.
These figures are again carved to a really beautiful standard, and the grain is particularly wonderful. The way the figuration moves with the contours of the body, it really adds to the strength of these caryatids as they support the entire fire surround. When it comes to carving, it's important to think about where you want the strength of the grain. So with these carvings, they have gone with a vertical grain, so everything is contained within this vertical space, and it's much stronger than if the grain was horizontal.
It's the labour of love for me, and I definitely get that feeling when I'm going to Two Temple actually. Time taken to make an object, understanding the material, sharpening his tools every couple of minutes, and as a maker, seeing that someone's put so much time and effort into making something, it's just satisfying.